You've turned on Sexy Marriage Radio, where the best sex happens in the marriage bed. Here's your host, Dr. Corey Allen.
Well, once again, to the Sexy Marriage Nation, I got to just say, you guys rock. Because one of the things that constantly happens here at the Sexy Marriage Broadcast Studios in McKinney, Texas. I'm trying to be all formal. I don't know what this is all really about on this way I'm starting this show, but let's go with it because this is Sexy Marriage Radio, where we are formal and informal about the way we cover marriage, because anything goes as far as what we're going to be willing to cover. But what the whole primary focus is marriage and health and the two people involved in your particular situation. That's what we care about. And that's where we want to speak to what is going on with you. And so the Sexy Marriage Nation reaching out back to us helps us make sure we're doing that. And so the way you can do that is give us a call. 214-702-9565 is the voicemail line. You can also send us an email, feedback@sexymarriageradio.com, because we want to help wherever it is that you need it most. And one of the things that's fantastic about where we're going in today's episode is we're going to give you a resource and some information about how this resource came to be and how to utilize this resource best right from the comfort of your own phone, which I love that phrase. So if you like the show and you're part of the Sexy Marriage Nation, or if you're new to the Sexy Marriage Nation, welcome, and jump on iTunes, leave us a review, rating, or on Stitcher, my iHeartRadio, any way you find the show, we ask you to share about it, leave a comment, because that helps it spread and helps the word get further and further to help marriages be better. And so, with all of that said and out of the way, I have to welcome Dan Purcell, is someone we've known for a little while, as far as some bantering back and forth, and he is one of the co-creators of the Ultimate Intimacy app. And Dan, I have to say thank you for joining me on this show.
Thanks, Corey. Hey, have you ever realized you have probably the most exciting job in the entire world?
Hey, how's that?
You get to talk about sex every day and help people find joy in their lives and answer their deep questions that they're afraid to ask anyone else.
And that's the coolest thing I think that Sexy Marriage Nation has created in the community of the Academy is it's places that you can ask the questions that you don't have any other place to ask, and you're not going to get laughed at or ridiculed or how dare you think that. So I appreciate that, because this is fun. This is one of those things, and I get, in the conversations we've had, I get your journey with the Ultimate Intimacy app has been fun.
Yes, it's all about fun, actually.
Let's go there in just a little bit, because I want to welcome you and what you do as an official sponsor for Sexy Marriage Radio for a little while, and I have to say thank you for that. But I also want to make sure that we educate some people on how did this thing happen, and then what do we do with it? Because I've explored it, completely recommend it, and I've seen it across the blogosphere being recommended by some big names out there as well. So, but I love the story of how this thing came to be, and so I'm going to give you the floor for just a little bit, Dan, if you would, and go with it.
Sure. It started January of last year, January 2017. I'm a software developer, and I'm at work, and I get a call from someone, like I do all the time.
Right.
Hey, I have an idea for a business. Can you help me with my app or whatever? So we meet and we talk about what they want built. And anyway, this couple comes in and they wanted us to make a game. So we're thinking video game.
Right.
And of course, every nerd's dream is to get paid
totally.
to play a video game, right? So we go into this thinking we're going to make the next Angry Birds or something like that. Anyway, and boy, were we surprised.
Okay.
So this couple, they're really sincere. And she opens up immediately about their marriage. They said they've had a great marriage, but things were lacking in the bedroom department. She wanted something a little more, but had a hard time bringing it up to her husband and didn't quite know the right approach. So in her experience, she went online and to Amazon and bought a bedroom game that was highly rated, and brought it to her husband one night and said, "Hey, I want to do this with you." And his wall was up. He wasn't really sure, like, what is this? That's kind of weird. Anyway, they played this bedroom game and they had so much fun that they played that game every night for like 2 weeks straight after the kids went to bed.
Okay.
And what it did for their marriage was it really helped her kind of learn what she likes in bed. They tried new things, and that wasn't it. They just felt a lot closer in their bond. They were able to communicate better. All of a sudden, he's more motivated to do the chores and do the dishes and get the kids to bed. And so she thought that was pretty good. Anyway, their marriage started to change, and there was a lot of good that they felt came from it. But there was a lot of things they didn't like about the particular game that they bought.
Right.
She's a lights off person, but in order for them to play the game, they had to have the lights on or have a flashlight to read the prompts.
Yes.
And this particular game, I guess, had game pieces. I don't know all the details, but
right.
Played on the floor, but she wants to make love on the bed. So It was kind of awkward.
Okay.
She thought, something like this needs to be in an app. Like, what if we made it? What if there was an app out there that would make things good? Oh, there was one more detail. The game was kind of crass and just not up to her values.
Right. Well,
that's the world. That's the way it is.
Yeah,
right?
that's interesting because, Sexy Marriage Radio exists within and among all of that, but we try to differentiate ourselves from that by holding true to what we believe and at least going to be unapologetic about talking about it in the manner in which we do. But it is one of those things that you think about it, there's not a lot of safe places for people that are a little more conservative in their bent or religious in their bent or have more value in the sense of, I don't want to be exposed to just everything the world has to offer. I want to have a safer avenue to find it. And so sometimes it is like, navigating a minefield.
Exactly. Absolutely. That's how they felt. Mm-hmm. So they took a risk by buying something online they had no idea about.
Yep.
And you kind of take the good with the bad, I guess.
Right.
But they had a good experience. They were able to, with a Sharpie, cross out the ones they didn't like, or something. Like take out the F word here and there. Yep. I don't know what they. But anyway, they. So she starts looking on the App Store, thinking there's got to be something out there that's great. But everything she found was still crass and just really not just really raunchy, or never in the context of marriage. Just something that it didn't. I don't know. It didn't resonate with her. So she's thinking, wow, we got to make our own app. And that's kind of how we met.
Okay.
So we had this discussion in my conference room with my coworkers, and she's very open about talking about
kudos to them.
Yeah. And I was beet red. I was blushing.
Okay.
I go home that day, talk to my wife, like, you would never believe
right.
what happened at work today. And I was really unsure because I come from a Christian background too, conservative in our views, I suppose, which also means we don't go searching online for stuff. And here I was in my office with someone really open about her journey, but this couple was just so sincere about wanting to do something to help other couples kind of have more fun in the bedroom in it. So my wife and I talked about it for hours and hours over weeks and weeks, and started to explore, like, really, is this right for us? And all of a sudden, our marriage starts to change.
Okay.
We start connecting at a deeper level. All those deep conversations we've been avoiding for years just all of a sudden came to the surface, and we're each a little more vulnerable, and then we feel safe with each other. And I think vulnerability plus safety equals intimacy. So our marriage
a good
starts
recipe.
to improve. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I'm more motivated to do the dishes and help the kids get ready for bed. So we have more time together in the evening, and our marriage just starts to take off. Like, not just like 1 or 2 times better, or 3 times better, like an order of a magnitude better. Just everything in life just started to click. And I felt the change coming on in my life so much that I called that couple back up and said, "Hey, this is a few months later.
Yeah.
Like for this app, I really believe in your mission. I don't want to just do it for you. I want to partner with you, and let's do this together, because I can bring my expertise and much more than their experience, lack thereof, in the app development environment to make something pretty good." So that's kind of how it all started.
Okay.
And our journey included really digging in deep. I think last year alone, my wife and I read like 11 or 12 marriage and sex books.
Mm-hmm.
We found, Sexy Marriage Radio. We found really good blogs out there. We have friends that are marriage and family therapists. I'd take them to lunch and I'd unload all my questions.
Yep.
And is this right? How come this is the way this is? And it was a really fun journey to kind of put together that. So we learned a lot of things, and we tried to incorporate as much as we could into the app. And we're constantly including more new resources as we get into the app.
Right. And so that's what's interesting, because I want to let's give a little bit of information about here's what this thing can do. Here's the components. And then let's go into what does it really provide? How do you utilize this? What's the reason and the rationale, and how? Because ultimately the idea, at least the way I think of it, and I know from our conversations you're in the same arena, that a lot of couples get caught in the stagnation of married life and family life and sex therein, right? Just because there's one, whatever we've learned and figured out how to do, we've decided that's been uncomfortable enough to reach that point, so I don't want to stretch any further, right? I found a tolerable level, so let's just stay there, which is kind of where you were going into that conversation at the very beginning of like, whoa, hold on. It almost like opened up a new possibility, but initially your reaction was, no, not it. Yeah, I'm embarrassed. This is not comfortable, whatever. But so this is a way, because of the game and a lot of additional stuff, to really challenge and lean into the discomfort in a safe way, because it's not anything that says, hey, this is what you must do. If you don't do this, you're bad or wrong. Or, I mean, it's kind of the way we've tried to do Sexy Marriage Radio, that we're going to talk about some things, and some of them will make you uncomfortable. Some of them will make you disagree. But if you can start a conversation about your response to this, you're moving the ball down the field a little bit. You're creating a better team and a better you. Absolutely.
And that's definitely been my experience, and the experience of many others that have downloaded the app. It starts that conversation, and it moves the ball you get to. And that's something I've learned in just in all the research, how important having that emotional connection as a foundation for everything else, and being able to kind of talk about things without pressure and really open up and kind of be vulnerable. And is so key to having a great sex life.
Right. Because one of the things that the app does, the Ultimate Intimacy app, which that's, if you're new, you're just catching the show halfway through, that's what we're talking about here. That this is one of the things it does is you even have conversation starters built in.
Right. We have over 200 of them across many topics, including intimacy and romance.
Oh, we needed like some good sound effect music with that one, but I didn't have anything queued. So, but then, I mean, the way it all started was this game that you kind of took the game or the concepts of the game that couple had experienced and reaped so much benefit from, and figured out how to interweave it into an electronic form. Right. So that it can be done lights on or lights off. Because it lights itself if it's on your smartphone, which is where it is.
Definitely. Yeah.
So
there's even a day mode and a night mode. So.
Hey, there you go. So, but what else? Go ahead. Yeah, keep going.
So let me describe the game briefly.
Yep.
So you put in your name, or the husband's name and the wife's name, and you can customize it to your comfort level. You can turn on and off different levels and things like that. When I say a level, it'll make more sense in a moment. So the game starts, there's a timer that's also, you adjust, let's say 2 minutes.
Right.
And it has a prompt, like the husband will, rub his wife's back.
Yep.
And then And then after 2 minutes, it's you switch. Now it's the wife's turn, and she'll, do something for her husband. And it kind of progresses from there, from really light foreplay or romance, then into foreplay, into heavier foreplay, and then on and up to really hotter and spicier prompts.
Right.
All the way to, so
right.
Very few people I've talked to actually finish the entire game because
things kind of get in the way and you get distracted with some other things. Is that what you're describing?
Yeah, that's right. So that's the hope, I guess.
Well, and that's the thing that if you talk about trying to instigate something that'll change a routine, because the way we initiate sex in married life is routine. We have go-to moves or statements or circumstances or something like we'll set the environment, and it can become routine because like the first couple of times it usually is like, wow, that was really good because there was novelty, there was something different, and there was a different kind of feeling. And then we sit, for whatever reason, as human beings, we think, oh, that'll work again. And 10 years in, it may still work, but it doesn't reap the same reward. So this is an avenue and a resource that's safe, that allows you to instigate something differently, try some things that maybe are a little out of your comfort zone. And from my experience with the app, it allows you that if you're like, okay, this is my turn and this is the prompt, no, I'm going to skip that one because that's not quite where I'm at in a comfort level, or I'm not willing to try it. But the likelihood would be if we play more later on, I might actually I'm going to do this one. Right.
Or if you actually really like something during the game, you can thumbs up it.
Yep.
So next time you play, it'll more likely be, it's kind of random, but
right.
It comes up more often.
Right.
So.
And that's the thing that's nice about technology. And I'm guessing by the way you built this is it allows for the variety inherently in the thing as it unfolds.
Right. Yeah.
Perfect. So what are the other components that have it? And then let's land this episode on just here's the rationale as to why.
Sounds good. Other components are resources. These are a collection of articles that we've found written by professionals that allowed us to include them in the app. They include things like just anatomy, just understanding our bodies and how they work, which is really foundational for good lovemaking, I think. Technique, there's a lot of step-by-step how-tos for a lot of various techniques to kind of add more variety to your marriage bed. Information on just emotional connection, how to foster that good emotional health. Lots of ideas. A lot of them are kind of on the silly side, but ways to kind of spice up the life in just initiating or date night ideas or just crazy things you might consider adding to your bucket list someday, just to add more variety to it. And then there's also, we have another section of more interactive content. So one of my favorite parts is sexy invites. These are the graphics that you can text to your spouse. One of them is like, hey, you've been on my mind all day. How about you get on my body too? Or every day is hump day. Or just kind of, they're fun things like that. We've got like over 50 of those that you just can text to. So kind of makes the initiation a little fun.
Right.
They're cute and
right, because that's the thing that's interesting is and this is where I applaud what you guys are doing, is because what you're doing is you're helping with just prompts, right? Yeah. You're helping because a lot of times we don't know what we don't know, and what we do doesn't always work, and obviously we want to fine tune it to be who we are. Because there's times, in the 25 years I've had with Pam, there's times I've come across something in getting ready for a show or from a guest or just in my whole world as a marriage and family therapist and hearing feedback from people. And I'm like, dude, that's a great phrase, or that's a great thing to do, or try it. And I do it, and it's not necessarily in line with who I am. Like I'll say something that I don't have the backing in the way I live to fully make it come true. And so I say it to Pam, and she's like, swing and a miss. No, because that's right. because it's like, that's out of character. But this has enough variety and enough variability to it that you can use it to just instigate the thought process if you don't just take it, because some of it could just be kind of silly. That's like, that doesn't, we take life so much more serious than that. That's fine. Use that silly to then fine tune to fit your arena.
Yep, definitely. Yeah. Make it a jumping off point.
Right. And that's a good way to think of it, as a jumping off point, because that's really kind of the whole thing, right? Is it's a jumping off into a deeper part of your relationship.
Yep.
Whether that be sexual or emotional or mental, whichever. Right? Okay. So let's go here then to kind of wrap this thing up, Dan. Some of the things that are just vital, because this is from our conversations and then just some of the beliefs I think you and I both have, is some of the stuff we need when we're talking about our marriage to help add a spark. There's some main components that are really simple if you think about it, especially if you've got resources you can utilize to help make it even more simple. to instigate definitely. It, right?
Give you a leg up, pun intended.
Exactly. But so what are some of the ones that come to your mind? And then I'll add in some, and then we'll land this ship.
I think in general, it's being playful. Mm-hmm. If you can approach lovemaking with a playful state of mind, like that's how children learn, right? They explore the world in a playful manner, and their mind is more open to connecting, and it brings with its cousin creativity in the process.
Okay.
And if you bring that into your marriage bed and even into your relationship, you're more open to each other and really getting to know each other on a deeper level.
Right. And
playfulness is key to
and I think that's a component that's good not only just for the bedroom and your sex life, that's good for life.
Definitely.
How can I mean, this is one of my professors in grad school used to say, he never understands why people take life so seriously, because none of us are getting out of it alive. And it's like, that's a good phrase. Why do I get so serious about this when I'm not going to make it out of this, right? So how do I kind of shift it and see it as I can approach things? I mean, my motto that I've kind of adopted over the last several years is I want to bring the fun to everything I do, right? Just because otherwise, why am I doing it? So how do I look at some of the 90% of life and relationships that is really just kind of begrudging things you got to do, taking out the trash, taking care of the household and finances, parenting, all that kind of stuff that really can just wear us out. How do I reframe that to this kind of a mindset of playfulness is one way to do so. Right? Because then I love the idea of its cousin creativity. But then I would say another component to that, tell me if I'm wrong, is now with creativity, I get that opportunity to have some more variety. Variety is key. Like last month, we went to the San Diego Zoo, and they have so many animals. And the zoo is not just for animals. They have all these plants too. Just the incredible variety. And I couldn't stop thinking that God is the author of variety. Yep.
Like even created animals that aren't even alive anymore. They're extinct. Like variety is everywhere. And I think God cares that much about variety. We ought to care that much about variety in our life to a degree.
Yeah.
Especially even in our intimate relationships, adding variety adds vitality to that relationship.
Yeah. And that's where you start getting into the brain science of variety hits novelty, which then enhances things when we experience something where we're just a little uncomfortable or just a little anxious. When I look back after that, I'm like, wow, that was really good. And typically it's a confluence of a lot of components. And one of them that's really vital is that novelty or that variety. That's something we haven't really tried or discussed or even experienced together.
Right. And I should add too, you can still set boundaries of
absolutely
what you're comfortable with. You don't have to constantly looking for novelty outside of your boundaries. But there's still plenty to explore within your boundaries you set for yourself.
Right.
And
exactly.
Over time, your boundaries change a little bit, and that's normal.
Sure. Sure. Because I think that's the evolving of who we are as people. And that allows us to have, because that's what I think of marriage as a long game. That's kind of the phrase we've been using with Sexy Marriage Radio a lot lately, is that, Pam and I have been married 25 years, and she's not the same woman she was 10 years ago. Man, she's not even the same woman she was 4 years ago, because she would not have been a co-host with me early on in Sexy Marriage Radio. And now she's on every Monday's episode, right? So
and she's a terrific co-host.
Thank you. I'll pass that along. I agree. But it's one of those that initially she's like, no way. And now she's like, I see the value in this. I like this. And she's really stretched herself, and that's stretched us, which then enhances things, adds some struggle in some things, because we got to deal with life and stuff on the air and off the air. But it's that idea of, how do you see these are components of what make life that we can savor and we can enjoy, make it worth living.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, so tell people how they can find this. Obviously, I'll put information in the show notes, but how do they find this? And just this is your quick little sales pitch. All right. Tell them where to go.
To make lovemaking fun, or to put the play back in foreplay, you can go to ultimateintimacy.com and click the download links for your Apple or your Android phone. Or you can also go to the app stores and search for Ultimate Intimacy. You'll see it there.
Perfect. And the thing that's cool about this is a majority of the app is free.
It is.
It's one of those. Yeah, it's a free download. You get a lot of information, and as a good business decision, if you want some of the more hot and heavy aspects, you're going to have to pay a little bit for that, but it's not outrageous. I mean, it's like, tell the prices.
It's $6.99, and we chose that price on purpose.
Well, I don't know if I can crack the code of that one, Dan.
There's a lot of humor that goes into
Yes. Well, that's kind of what goes on behind the scenes of Sexy Marriage Radio. We have a lot of fun with some of the content and the way we think of it. And it's like, all right, that's part of what adds our variety.
Definitely.
Well, Dan, I have to say thank you for coming alongside us and being a part of Sexy Marriage Nation, but also for providing the resources that you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, this has been Sexy Marriage Radio. I highly recommend Ultimate Intimacy app. If you need to find more, jump to sexymarriage.net on this show's episode, and you'll find the links there. So wherever you are, whatever you've been doing, I have to say thank you to the Sexy Marriage Nation for taking part of your day to spend it with us. We'll see you again next time.